Welcome wildlife to your garden. All gardens are different. Some are very big, some are very small, but something they all share is how well they cater for all sorts of wildlife, especially if you encourage them to do so. Gardens are important places for birds, bees, butterflies and many insects. Sadly, the more that the world is being covered up with buildings, the less space there is for the natural wildlife that should be living here. Pollution and climate change is also worrying, as it could make conditions wrong for our resident flora and fauna. 60% of the UK wildlife species monitored have declined rapidly over the last 50 years, so now is the time to act and make our gardens, whatever the size, more welcoming to the native wildlife. We're going to have a look at some of the things you could do to attract and invite wildlife to your garden. Number 1. Growing the right flowers. Flowers provide pollen and nectar for bees, butterflies and other insects that perform the vital act of fertilisation, without which the growth of flowers, seeds and fruit productions would stop. The best flowers for wildlife provide lots of nectar and pollen, and you should have continuous flowering in all seasons. Most plants or seed packets will say if they're on the RHS Perfect Pollinators list. Number 2. Adding water. Ideally, a pond would be best, but in a small garden, you could try a water container. Within a short time, your pond will attract mini beasts, birds and amphibians that love the wet conditions. Number 3. Create a bug hotel. Insects can use these to lay eggs or hibernate in. You can make this out of an empty bottle and hollow plant stems, hung up somewhere dry and sheltered. This could have anything from woodlice to ladybirds to bumblebees. Number 4. Provide food and water for birds all year round. Garden birds are easier to attract with supplemental feeding, and food across the cold winter can mean the difference between life and death for a delicate garden sparrow or robin. Offer a mix of seeds, nuts, fat balls and kitchen scraps, and don't forget a constant supply of clean unfrozen water is just as important. You can buy bird feeders and seeds fairly cheaply in most garden centres and supermarkets. Hang a bird feeder and fat balls in nice secluded places, under cover and away from seagulls. Number 5. Don't be too tidy. Let your wild side out and let nature's out too. Piles of leaves and debris can be great sources of food and habitats, and letting your grass grow a bit longer will provide shelter for small mammals such as wood mice, voles and shrews. Fantastic! Now you know what you can do to help. Let's have a look at some of the things you might plant or find in your new wildlife-friendly garden. The garden bumblebee, or Bombus hortorum. The garden bumblebee is a species found in most of Europe. They use their long tongues for feeding on nectar in deep flowers. Bumblebees are among the most important plant pollinators, yet there is a recognition of a decline in numbers due to habitat destruction and diseases from pesticides. Keep your garden natural and help the bumblebees thrive. Next, the garden snail. Cornu apossum, known by the common name garden snail, is a species of land snail. The garden snail is primarily a herbivore feeding on a wide range of host plants, but also an omnivorous scavenger feeding on rotten matter. It is of conservation status NE, which means not evaluated. Snails are often seen as garden pests, while some believe they are just going about their snaily business. When choosing plants for the garden, you should always consider the best for the wildlife. A good one to start with is a sunflower, or the Latin name Helianthus. Helia means sun and anthus means flower. Planting gorgeous sunflowers is one of the easiest ways to provide food for birds in your garden, and they're excellent fun to grow. Lavender is another good plant to grow for birds and pollinators. Lavender, or Lavandula, is an easy to grow evergreen shrub that produces masses of beautifully scented purple flowers above green or silvery grey foliage. The scent of lavender in the garden is a magnet for bees and butterflies. When the purple blooms go to seeds, birds can also tuck in, such as the blackbird. One of the most common UK garden birds is the blackbird. The males live up to their name, but confusingly the females are brown. They have orange beaks, eye rings and feet, and sing a lovely mellow song. Its Latin name is Turdus merula, and you can see them all year round looking for berries, insects and worms. They are a status of least concern. The red admiral. The red admiral butterfly's scientific name is Vanessa atalanta. The red admiral is a frequent visitor to our gardens and one of our most well-known butterflies. This butterfly is recognisable by its velvety black wings with striking red bands and white spots on the end. Currently, the species is not of conservation concern. Garden wildlife needs our help. because of changes to the countryside and agricultural techniques, which has meant there are fewer wildflowers in the landscape than there used to be. But luckily, like we now know, small things like making your garden more wildlife friendly can be a huge help to these creatures and plants. So what are you waiting for? Get out and garden!